Um, well, I mean, early electronic music, really. People like sort of Visage and Human League and things like that were definitely an influence, although as sort of breakers, they were a sort of minor influence. We wanted it to be from America, we wanted it to be from New York, and therefore it would be legitimate. But those people were influencing the sort of electro producers in New York and LA, so yeah, I think a lot of European electronic music via the sort of American producers who were getting influenced by it.
Hello. Can I just ask what time signature that was in, and did it change in the middle?
It was in. There is no overall time signature in the track. It was made with lots of time signatures overlapping. So it change. It sort of mutates throughout the track.
But it ended up 4/4, yeah.
Yep.
You'd said earlier you're incorporating like old analog gear in your live gigs. How do you manage with both of them? Because obviously they're even more unstable than this one. Is there any sort of routes to go down to get it to a kind of a working setup which is fairly...
This is normally really solid. I've had this PowerBook for ages, and I think especially with computers, it's all about keeping the hard drive defragmented. So many of the crashes and problems I have is just something as boring as defragging the hard drive. There's almost not much more to it. And
how do you...
Sorry?
Go on.
And with analog gear, it's just making sure it doesn't get bashed about too much.
But how do you connect the both of them, especially with the non-MIDIfied ones like 303 or stuff?
There's loads of boxes that you can get that send out Sync 24, which is the old way of syncing 303s and 808s together. So it just does a MIDI clock to Sync 24.
So you said there that this is for a DVD project, so I take it it's in 5.1 then at some stage.
Yeah, we're trying to learn 5.1. But it seems like not that much music has been written specifically for 5.1, so...
But isn't it kind of crap, at the other hand, because the hearing situations will be kind of different for everyone with the way they set up the speakers and kind of stuff, and when you put so much emphasis on the direction of sound, you always...
But you could say the same about stereo, sort of speaker configurations. You know, a lot of people will be losing the left or the right, or they'll be sitting more to the right hand or more to the left hand. So, that is a problem. But then, if you say that, then you just limit yourself to stereo. And I think it would just be nice to do some stuff in 5.1. It'd just be different, and it is pretty amazing to have sound coming from the back.
Did you while you're restarting it, did you remaster old stuff already, or?
No, we're just it's just the new stuff that we're doing in 5.1. We're not going to go sort of back and do everything.
Because I mean, when you get stuff like, let's say, Can remixed on 5.1, which was originally done on one simple stereo recording track, you're obviously changing the nature of the sound very heavily.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think if it's stuff that's been specifically done for 5.1, it makes sense. But to remaster everything's just it's just a ploy to sell more DVDs, really. And I'm sure they'll remaster every single CD that's ever come out as a DVD and bung on some.
So it's just another sad attempt of the industry to make.
Well,
some
it is a
extra.
little bit. I think a lot of the DVDs that have come out now are basically just music that you've heard before with some live footage chucked on top. There's very little stuff that's actually been specifically made for DVD, and I think they will eventually phase out CDs and expect us all to buy our music on DVDs.
What is you guys your musical background? Because I'm always very impressed by your melodies and harmonies. And have you played any instruments? And if so, for how long?
I didn't. Andy learnt how to play the flugelhorn, which hasn't come in that handy. But I think it's given him some sort of grasp of musical theory, whereas I didn't, and Ken didn't have any training.
So do you have any structured approach when you're going to write a melody or harmony, or just click or fiddle about till it sounds good?
I think you sort of discover what works and what doesn't work over time, really. So I think you just instinctively learn music theory, and you start to realise 5 up it sounds good, and 7 up it sounds good, and you know, just things like that. But yeah, the way we write is all improvisational. I don't think we don't have a theoretical start point, so it is just bashing the keyboard till it sounds good, really.
Okay.
So.
I have one more question, is because you often have a lot of elements in your mix, but it always still sounds clear or even quite spacious. Do you have any tips on keeping your mix clear while you have so many things going on, melodically and rhythmically?
Yeah, it's just trying to keep a certain sound to a certain frequency as much as possible. So it's every sound has its key frequency, and you don't go too much outside of that range, really. That's
How would you find out which frequency the sound is?
because, well, you can do it just with an EQ, where you just sweep the EQ, and wherever it starts to sort of resonate, you found it's kind of its key frequency. It's the main frequency within that sound.
So
And
you
then
gotta have proper kit then too.
You can do it on almost any computer, and you could just do it with a graphic EQ at home. And also you can just completely do it by ear. I think you can sort of hear if something's. You can hear the EQ basically, so you know what the main component of a sound is. So.
Let's go through this then, and on a quick tour, and yeah.
Well, this is a track that was on one of our albums called New Family, and this is quite a melodic track. Not, most of our tracks are melodic, really. So, really, it's just so you can see the component parts of the track and the kind of the basic structure, and how the track started. It basically started with a chord pattern, which was this, if it plays. Yeah, so this is just a chord pattern that we came up with, and I think there's 3 variations on this. So we started off with just this, which is like a 2-bar pattern, and generally that's how we do come up with tracks, is starting with something melodic. We very rarely start from something rhythmical. Or purely rhythmical. I don't think we start from drums that often. So, that's the basis of the whole track, really. And it just the whole thing just plays around with that chord progression. And I think after that,